Welcome back to Amiibo Doctor Podcast, also known as the one where good Lord Doc really needs a haircut. Because wow, that is my hair kind of tends to grow straight out from the sides, which is really annoying. So I basically do a fade on the sides to keep it short for as long as possible. So, oh man, all right. Let me move this computer. Actually, it's one thing I noticed the other day is that you can hear the whir of my computer in this microphone. There. Okay. So today we're going to talk a little bit about life stuff, of course. But I want to mostly talk about the Kazuya amiibo. This is a little bit jumping the gun on a couple of things. I haven't trained the Kazuya amiibo yet. I saw Kazuya in the tournament, and I've received a rundown of what his AI is capable of, which is everything. Okay, for those of you that don't know, the Kazuya amiibo has access to everything in its toolkit. Like everything. All the combos, the special inputs, everything. It basically got the Terry treatment, but squared, right? But yeah, so I want to start with the Kazuya amiibo, and then talk about the overall, the meta. Because one of the things I think people don't really understand about the meta is that the character doesn't matter so much as the archetype that the character falls into. So, anyway, so Kazuya, like I said, I haven't trained one, but Kazuya has, we'll just say the best AI in the game in terms of functionality. It can do everything. It can do Electric Wind God Fist. I think that's what it's called. It can do all the little angles of everything. It's got all the combos that are built in, like the special Tekken inputs. It's got all that. Everything. They really went overboard with this, right? So you might think, well, Doc, that's pretty normal. All the recent amiibo have that. Yeah, they do. What you probably don't understand, not being the amiibo old man that I am, is that wasn't usually the case. In fact, I don't remember so the thing is, the only combos that amiibo could do when Ultimate first came out was up tilt, just up tilt into up tilt, right? And then I remember Pichu came out, specifically Pichu, and he was the first one. It was mostly just up tilt stuff still, but he was the first one that could really chain up tilt into other things, and that kind of blew my mind, honestly. I mean, the Pichu amiibo was a big deal because of that. The amiibo itself still not very good against other amiibo because he's Pichu. He damages himself and he dies at 20. So not that big of a deal. But that was a major turning point for the AI. And slowly but surely, pretty much every amiibo after that started getting what I call AI love, which is when the developers really put effort into the AI because they love it, right? Most characters since then, because the DLC characters are so unique, most characters had very customized AI specifically for them, right? So that's why wow, I really need that haircut. I'm kind of procrastinating on everything. I got to get groceries. I got to get a haircut. I already aired up my tire, so that's good. I got to get a car wash. I literally haven't washed my car in 9 months. To be fair, I didn't have it for 3 of them, and it didn't need a car wash until 3 months ago. But anyway, but no, and so that was just a big freaking deal, huge deal. And over time, the developers have gone back through and they've patched a few amiibo. The 8.0 and 10.0 ones were big patches for that, but they've patched some AI stuff into amiibo here and there. Most of it didn't really affect the meta, although Ryu actually got patched, and it'll come up in a later video, but I've actually been playing against my Ryu a lot. And I could tell that he was different. I wasn't sure if I was just misremembering how he was trained, but then somebody told me, no, Ryu got an AI patch. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. That still happens. So, and the Ryu patch will probably affect the meta a lot. I need to specifically test Ryu. But that's a training guide that I've always wanted. And people don't really mess with Ryu a whole lot. At least historically they haven't. So I've never had anybody to tap for that. So I might just end up writing it myself. I'm doing my own research and probably making a video first and then making a website guide. Anyway, no, so with Kazuya though, the character itself, even if the AI was bad, the character would still be really good. The amiibo would still be really good, rather. If he had no built-in combos, like nothing, okay? If all he could do was tilt a stick and press a button, right? We'll call it generic amiibo AI, right? Which is what most of the Smash 4 amiibo characters have. Basically, if an amiibo never got its AI patched, consider to have generic amiibo AI, which is where it knows its hitboxes, it can use its moves and kind of play well. Maybe it has a bad habit, right? But otherwise, there's just nothing special about it. So if he just had generic AI, okay, which is just, oh, you're in range of my smash attack, I'm going to hit you, he would still be really good. The character itself is just nuts. I mean, he's got super armor. He's built-in super armor on several KO moves. He's basically got a built-in final smash. Okay, which is that down special that like when he hits 100%, he's got his side special, which is basically specifically designed to counter things on the ground, right? And most of the amiibo meta heavyweights do best on the ground, right? Most of the best heavyweights in the game are ground-based ones, right? Obviously, Amiibo can respond with shielding and parrying, so I don't think it's broken, but I think it's really good. He's got a projectile that goes across the whole freaking stage that he can angle, right? Tremendous recovery, right? So, like, this character on his own would just be phenomenal. Can KO at, like, 80, right? Probably is going to kill your opponent by 100. Ridiculous damage output for that as well. There's just nothing, like, he's just phenomenal, right? But then the AI is really good as well. And the AI has access to everything, okay? So people have been telling me, Doc, this guy's as broken as Incineroar. And it depends on what do you mean by broken. Incineroar is broken, and short of a major AI overhaul, or at least a fix. I don't want to say major, but short of a fix, he's always going to be the best because opponents can't really respond to a Alolan Whip, basically. Obviously, there was an AI patch a while ago that, like, they can see it now, and they would start to get out of the way, but they still get hit by it, like, basically every single time, right? So effectively, we're still at square one with Alolan Whip, right? So you have Incineroar, who is never going to be beaten. At least, like, on average, right, in the tier list. He's never going to be outranked in the tier list. And then you have people saying, well, hold on, Doc. Kazuya is just as broken as Incineroar. He's U tier. I'm like, that's a hell of a claim, and I don't buy it. I know he's broken, right? And maybe he'll have, like, a 95% win rate, which would definitely be, assuming Incineroar banned, which would definitely be the best win rate of anything ever, right? And a Kazuya ban, fair enough, right? 95% win rate, yeah, ban that shit, right? It makes perfect sense, okay? But that's not as good as Incineroar. That's not. That's crazy good. Don't get me wrong. But it's not as good as Incineroar. And the reason that's not as good as Incineroar is because even in 20XX, okay, when all counterplays have been tried, when all of everything else has been attempted, okay, Incineroar will still win because it's a fundamental flaw with Amiibo AI that cannot be beaten. Whereas Kazuya could theoretically have counterplays against him that maybe don't counter him, but maybe do better against him than before, right? So, why then is Kazuya so broken? Because there are other amiibo with super armor. Bowser has super armor. Bowser's really heavy. Bowser's got great on-stage behavior. Why not him? He's got a forward smash that kind of breaks the AI. Why is Bowser not that good, right? I'm not even going to get into K-Rool, because K-Rool is... I fucking hate K-Rool. I really do. But, like, gee, Doc, why not him? Good question. Terry... Okay, I don't mean to keep referencing Proto Man, because I feel like I reference Proto Man in literally everything that I do. But Proto Man was one of the first examples of this being true. Point blank fighting and projectile fighting are probably the two most important parts of Amiibo. Like, Amiibo fighting, Amiibo battles. They're probably the most important parts. Gee, dog, what do you mean? Well, good question. You ever wonder why at least the Proto Man method Mega Mans do so well against heavies? You ever wonder why? You ever wonder why Mega Man goes like, what? It's been a long time since I saw the numbers, and Proto Man's been out of it for a while, so this is probably different now. But you ever wonder why he goes like 65-35 against K-Rool? You ever wonder that? Not Bowser, just K-Rool, oddly enough. But you ever wonder that? No? Okay, that's fine. Reason is he's point blank. He's a point blank fighter, right? I was doing an Amiibo analysis video, and that's going to come out probably next week. But in it, I put Proto Man against I'll spoil one against a Byleth, we'll say. I don't want to spoil the others, but the point is true for the others. And Proto Man crushed him 3 times. I typically try to not show Proto Man winning when I'm analyzing other people's Amiibo, because I don't want people to get the idea that their Amiibo is bad, right? Unless I'm telling them that it's bad, in which case, fair enough. But I could not run a match in which Byleth won. And the reason that's the case is because what is Byleth's strength? What is Byleth's strength? I'll give you a hint. It's also Min-Min's strength. At a distance. Right. Same thing with all the sorties, right? So you get an Amiibo like Proto Man who has KO power at point blank range. There goes Byleth. There goes Min-Min, right? So then what happens? Well, Terry and Kazuya benefit the same way. The reason Terry counters heavyweights, Terry's kind of anti-meta in my opinion. The reason Terry counters heavyweights isn't because he's got a phenomenal moveset and great damage power. Don't get me wrong. That really helps. Not saying it doesn't. That really helps. But the specific thing that means, what the fuck is this guy doing? I'm watching somebody try to park, and he keeps going out and back in, going out. What are you... Sorry, that was sudden. No. Terry wins because he's up close. When Terry's at his best, it's because he's up close. No ifs, ands, or buts. Go moves help as well, okay? And one of the things you see with just high tiers in general is that they usually have like 5 things that are really great, okay? And they're heavy, you know what I'm saying? But go moves aside, Terry still is phenomenal at point blank. Might have been one of the best point blank fighters in the entire game before Kazuya. I mean that sincerely, right? Like, because jab, jab, power dunk, jab, jab, side beat. Doesn't matter what you do out of jab, okay? You've got something to do out of jab, And that's a fast jab. So, you're dead, right? Kazuya has that too, okay? But he also has that at arm's length, right? And arm's length is where most Amiibos start to... More Amiibo are competent at arm's length than at point blank range because there's more hitboxes at arm's length, right? That's where most smash attacks end up. So what you see with Kazuya... Aside from the other 10 things that I mentioned earlier that are all really great, okay? What you see with Kazuya is that he's phenomenal at point blank range. And the AI helps him with that. It really does. It helps him a lot with that, right? The reason that it's important that the AI helps him is that there's other moves that he can use you basically can't avoid, right? He's got his 10-hit combo, right? He's got various variations of that. Electric Wind, God Fist. He's got whatever that crap is on the ground. He's got all sorts of stuff, okay? He can also keep you in the air. Also do everything. I mean, there's really no limit. So he's basically Terry squared is what happens. But the reason it's so important that he's at point blank range is because heavies, the traditional masters of the Amiibo meta, we'll call them, Bowser, K-Rool, we're not going to include Incineroar because he's been banned for so long. DDD, Mii Gunner, right? They don't have options at point blank range. They don't have options at point blank. None. They can parry, okay, but parrying is a band-aid. It doesn't heal the flesh wound. It's just a band-aid. Because if you parry, well, then they can hit again. I mean, jab, power dunk. There's 3 hits in that. You got to parry all 3 of them or else you're going to get hit. in it, right? So what's happening at the high part of the Amiibo meta is that we're watching point blank stuff become very important, right? And that's one of the flaws of the heavies, the traditional heavies, is that they're slow. So, they can defend at point blank range, kind of, but it's slow. That's what I mean when I say they have no options, is that, what are you going to do in the next 20 frames? Nothing. You have nothing. What are you going to shield? Right, I already covered shielding. So, the difficult part is that there may not be a solution to this, honestly. There really might not be. I can't think of one. I can't think of any character released that would really beat Kazuya. I could see projectiles being kind of useful against him. But he can projectile too, right? Doesn't he... Is his forward tilt that's a reflector? Am I remembering that correctly, or am I losing my mind? Min Min isn't going to beat him, because all Kazuya has to do, that neutral beat really just invalidates like a lot of things, right? Min Min could give him a hard time, but when he gets up to point blank, she's dead, realistically. Sorry, I'm keeping an eye. I got my window right there, and I'm keeping an eye on who's coming and going. Me Gunner, missile spam. Not if he can reflect. Although, Me Gunner kind of always ends up breaking something. I think Me Gunner missile spam would theoretically be a very difficult matchup for Kazuya to be dominant in. But yeah, no, so like the thing about Kazuya, by and large, is that he's got the same thing that Terry's got, which is that he's at point blank. And he's always at point blank. He's never not at point blank. He's got such short range that he's basically always got to be point blank, right? So anyway, that's my thesis on Kazuya and why he's so great, aside from the other 10 things that make him great. But I do think... And see, to wrap it up, right? You may say, well, Doc, it's really just the other things that make him great, right? It's, Terry being heavy and doing a lot of damage, and Kazuya being heavy and doing a lot of damage, getting KO powers easily, all that jazz, right? No, it's not. That's why I mentioned Proto Man at the beginning. It's because, wow, that's really good saturation. Really good. I'm glad I turned that filter up. That's why I mentioned Proto Man at the beginning. That's why Proto Man can beat heavies. Not really Bowser, though. I always wondered about that. He can do K-Rool just fine, right? I guess maybe it's because K-Rool leaves himself pretty open to getting gimped with down air, with Mega Man's down air when he recovers. I don't know, maybe. Anyway, so that's my theory, my thesis on Kazuya. So, what is it? 10? Oh, jeez. All right, 10:40. Let's see what's on my to-do list for today. Groceries, haircut, yeah, yeah. What else? I got a lot of fucking homework to get done. I got so much homework to get done. I gotta get signed up for stuff. I need to edit Amiibo Analysis 2. I'm trying to manage... That's why I'm not looking at my computer screen a whole lot. I'm trying to manage the computer strain on my eyes by not doing that much of it during the weekend. The nice thing about law school is that you're usually sitting about 30 to 40 feet from your professor. Use the term. Because, we're fancy here. And so that's a bit better for your eyes, at least. Going from computer screen to that. So I print everything out. So that's good. It's nice that I have free printing in my apartment. When I was doing finals week last semester, I printed out slides for my contracts class, and there was like probably 1,200 slides that I had to go through. I ended up getting like a C+ in that class. I was not happy about that, but that's because it was open book, open note, and like that was the one that everybody studied for. And then I ended up doing really well in civil procedure because nobody studied for that except for me because everyone was scared of it. Ha 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 ha. So, oh man, what else? What else do I got to do? I have a to-do list on my school computer, so I guess I should probably just check that. Lawyering skills research, yeah. I need to exercise. I basically neglected exercising for the last week honestly. Really shouldn't have. But I did. It's been a rough week. I could not emotionally muster that up. So, but I'm all right now. I need to eat. Hey, I haven't eaten breakfast. That's funny. Good job, Doc. Haven't even eaten breakfast. So, wasn't there something with my car? I aired up my tire, car wash. There had to be something else. Well, anyway. Yeah, so that's my life. So don't get me wrong. Things are not sunshine and rainbows all the time. They're really not. I found that whenever I'm feeling particularly crushed by school, I go and make a podcast. That's usually what I do. Is I make a podcast whenever I feel like I'm, and it's nice at least to nice to have that outlet. You know what I'm saying? So, one thing I've been meaning to do, we're going to talk about a little bit about future content. So I put up on the community post, I put up that outline of what I want my videos to look like. And it's going to kind of suck only having 4 videos a month now, because I'm used to having like 40 in a month because I spend too much time on this. But that miscellaneous every third, I like the idea of doing Amiibo training guides. And I've played around with Sephiroth a bit. And I need to actually start on him. But honestly, his AI is whack. I mean, it's really whack. It's so inconsistent that it's difficult to imagine somebody could really give a good recommendation on him. Right? There's moves that he should use, but whether or not he really uses them is kind of So it's hard to make a training guide for a character that's fundamentally inconsistent. I mean, not fundamental, but I guess the AI is inconsistent. So that's kind of my hope. But I am going to do Sephiroth next. And then the month after that, Kazuya. And then after that, we're just doing random characters that I feel like doing. I would do Mega Man on that, but I've already done a lot of How to Train Mega Man videos. Probably too many. So I might do something else like Fox or Ryu, maybe. The problem is I have to learn how to do Ryu. But no, one of these days I do plan on going through and statistically breaking down how the Amiibo meta actually works. Because most people just don't get it. And it's hard to explain what I'm talking about without deeply explaining statistics and randomness in general, and then character archetypes. And because the thing is okay, it's easy for somebody to tell you what moves to have your Amiibo use. It's harder for somebody to tell you why. Okay. This is why I'm not that big a fan of written Amiibo training guides anymore. I don't think they're nearly as useful as videos. If you can just give somebody a bulleted list of the moves to use and they'll do it. And maybe the Amiibo ends up fine, right? But you've got to demonstrate. Most people need a demonstration. And that typically consists of 30 minutes of you at the computer, with my, the videos I used to do, which just me in the corner, just, not clipping anything, just running through a whole training from beginning to end, right? And written guides can't really show that, and this is why I want written guides, because they're useful, right? If you know how to train Amiibo already, written guides are useful. And not just not just the basics of, use the moves that you want them to use, but the process, how to instill play styles, how to do things like that, right? The problem is, especially with how fundamentally the Amiibo meta is changing, I'm not even sure that anyone has... Not anyone, that's a bit of an overstatement. I'm not sure that most of the Amiibo training guides written by anyone are as useful and relevant as they used to be. Because it's no longer about the moves that your Amiibo uses, it's about the playstyle. It's about how it uses them. It's about when it uses them. That's a really big deal. I was actually going to do a separate podcast on this topic alone, but I couldn't figure out how to say what I'm saying. Like, you go back to that tournament video. This was the theme of that tournament video. The one that hit like 1,000 views really fast, which is awesome. I'm really glad that it did. You go back to that tournament, you look at things like that Simon Belmont. There were other Amiibo that do that, but you look at things like the Simon Belmont that used its whole moveset, and it did it all really well. It played like a human in some regard, right? That is not, it's not traditional. That's not how Amiibo used to work. There's no bulleted list of moves for that Simon Belmont, because the bulleted list is all of his moves. That's the future of Amiibo training guides, okay? It's not, here's the list of moves to use. That doesn't work, you know? It's not even so much, here's the list of moves and when to use them. You have to show people. You can't just write it. You have to show people because this is so fluid that there's no way to put it in writing. That's the problem. So, obviously I still want to do Amiibo training guides because I think they're very useful, especially as just a repository, because you do need to have repositories of information. But I'm struggling with the format of the video guides because I'm trying to give you as much information as I possibly can in 6 to 8 minutes. And honestly, I'm not doing that good of a job at it. The editing is pretty weak on Pyra and Minmin videos. But well, yeah, I guess, I don't know. But so my point is that it's easy for somebody to give you a bulleted list of moves to use, but you're not going to end up very good. You're just not. Your Amiibo is not going to be superior in any way. It's harder for somebody to say, here's the play style, right? But then that can't really be communicated. But then it's hardest to replicate something, which is why you have to demonstrate. So I guess that's what I'm trying to say. That's my thesis. That's what I'm trying to say, is that written guides are inferior. They don't communicate the information very well. If somebody says, well, we're an expert, like, the whole notion of Amiibo expertise in general is just kind of silly, which is something I also hope to explain with that video, that hypothetical video down the line where I talk about randomness and stuff. But like, basically when somebody says they're an expert in Amiibo, and I say this as the guy who gave himself the title of Amiibo expert, right? When somebody said that they're an expert in Amiibo, question it. Because the fundamental truth of Amiibo ultimately is that you can optimize your Amiibo as best as possible, but some Amiibo are just better than others. They're just better. So, somebody says, well, I've got a Bowser that has, I don't know, he's won 10 tournaments. It's like, okay, great. Is that because your Bowser's great or because your opponents suck or because it's a Bowser? I mean, and there's other, so I don't know. I've basically turned into a word salad now, and I'm not really making much sense here. So I guess I'm going to have to shut up and just make that video down the line. But no, there's real science to the Amiibo meta. There's real stuff to it, and you can't get that just by reading a website. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, that's what I'm trying to say, I guess. All right, well, it's almost 11, so I guess I gotta actually do something productive with my day. So, thank you for watching.